Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm George Conley with Scratch Golf Tips. Today we're going to be talking about a comment that I got recently on a YouTube channel, and I get it all the time in the Instagram DMs, which is, hey, I know how to spin a full wedge shot from 110 yards, but how do I get more backspin on those in-between shots of 40 to 60 yards, that sweet 50-yard range? How do I get more backspin? So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 3 very helpful tips on how to increase your backspin and check on those 50-yard golf shots. So the first thing that is important to note when talking about the backspin on these 40 to 60-yard golf shots is you are not going to get the desired backspin with a nice high soft landing golf shot. Now, like I said earlier, it is going to land softly, but you're not going to get a ton of backspin, which is very helpful for those, front pins or trying to get it into a tucked pin. You can land it soft, but the backspin won't be there with high trajectory. The way that you are going to get backspin is through lower trajectory, high acceleration. So these tips are going to revolve around getting that lower trajectory. It's going to skid once, but once it hits the green, the backspin is going to reel it right back. It might not generally, if you land it right at the pin and then it bounces 10 feet past, I can't guarantee that it's going to spin 10 feet all the way in, but there absolutely is going to be notably more backspin than your standard wedge shot. So the first thing that we want to do at address and certainly emulate at impact is have a decent amount of forward shaft lean. So with a golf shot, if you generally have a little bit with a wedge forward shaft lean at address, we want to accentuate that a little bit. That lower angle of attack is obviously going to create a much lower launch angle and much higher backspin, especially if you have a nice descending blow with a fairly steep angle of attack. Another way that you can accentuate that low launch, high spin shot would be by placing the ball slightly further back in the stance. Just be sure that you're not putting it too far back and having your shaft too forward. If you've got the ball pretty notably far back and the shaft lean is very forward, you're going to end up hitting the ball like 5 feet off the ground, and it's just not going to be good. So there is a happy medium. It's definitely something to play around with on a chipping green, but those are 2 ways to accentuate that. Just don't be too over dramatic with either way, with the shaft lean or the ball positioning. Now talking about the swing itself, we want to be coming across the ball a little bit. So I know that I talk a lot about different swing paths, in to out, out to in, which is especially important for long irons, woods, drivers. That's what leads to hooks and slices, but it is important to recognize the influence that swing path has on the ball with these pitch shots in the 40 to 60 yard range. If we're looking for a lower launch and higher spin shot, coming across the ball is going to be able to do that effectively for us. So what that will lead to is the out to in swing path. You're going to be swinging across the body, and that's going to allow for that lower launch and higher spin trajectory that we really want in order to have more backspin than normal. Essentially what this is going to do is if you're coming across the ball, your attack angle is going to be much steeper, and again, as I said earlier, that steeper attack angle is really going to get the grooves on the ball, and if you hit it cleanly, those grooves coming into the ball, or the ball coming into the grooves rather, that's what's really going to accentuate that spin, and you really need that because if you clunk the ball a little bit, if you get too much grasp between the ball, you could do all 3 of these tips perfectly, but if the strike isn't there, the backspin also will not be there. Now for tip number 3, which is the final tip and always the most important tip when talking about backswing, is you need to accelerate through the ball. As I said earlier, you can get the ball nice and high in the air with what's called a dead arm wedge shot, where you don't really accelerate through the ball. You just slap it up there and it bounces a few times. That's fine, that's one way to go about it. If we're gonna go with a low shot that has a lot of backspin, you have no choice but to really accelerate through the ball. Now accelerating through the ball is very easy to do with an 8-iron that you're swinging full speed ahead, just trying to hit it 150 yards right at a pin. I get it, it's easy. It is not as easy, and it is much easier said than done to really accelerate through a shot that you're only wanting to hit 50 yards. The reason for that is fairly clear. If you're hitting a 60-degree wedge 50 yards, you can't be swinging it fully. So a lot of people, when they think, all right, I have my full swing, now if I want to hit it a little bit less, I'm going to have a fairly full swing, I'm just going to slow it down a little bit. That's not what you want to do. That's going to lead to inconsistent contact, inconsistent striking, and certainly inconsistent low point control. And when we're talking about low point control, that is one of the most important aspects of spin, because if you have great low point control, you have great contact, your impact positioning is perfect, and that's what we really need out of a high backspin shot. That impact positioning has to be nearly perfect in order to get those grooves right on the ball. Because this is a lower golf shot, because the golf shot has to spin a lot, I don't need you with a 60-degree wedge or even a 56, whatever club you want to hit, you don't need to be coming up above shoulder height. For a lot of people, because it's going to really come out hot because it's coming out so low, you might not need to get a 50-yard shot above waist height. It all depends on the acceleration. But whatever you do, it's better to have that shorter golf swing where you're really getting through the ball confidently than have a nice, high, balanced golf swing and just kind of wussy out through impact and not have that acceleration. Because like I said earlier, if the acceleration isn't there, everything else does not matter, because acceleration comes, or spin comes from proper acceleration, always. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these shots. How do you like to approach them? Some people really like those high shots that don't have any spin on them. They feel like they can control those better. Other people love to turn to the spinning shot. I know personally, I like to spin the ball with a little bit of a lower trajectory unless I absolutely have to get the ball up there. If it's a totally tucked pin in the very front of the green, it's pretty difficult to hit a low spinner in there because you have to land it perfectly on the fringe or perfectly on the very front edge of the green. I'd rather hit a looping dead arm wedge into that. But with a back pin, I much prefer landing the ball a few feet short of the hole and having it safely spin up there and give myself a nice proximity to the hole. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it personally within your golf game. As always, I very much appreciate it if you leave a like rating, or if you didn't like the video, leave a dislike rating. That just helps me gauge what you guys like to see from the channel and what you don't like to see. So by giving me that feedback, it can help me offer you the best content from this page possible. It's going to tailor it better to all of you. Also, if you like the video, then that helps YouTube show it to more people who will find it helpful, and that helps the channel grow, and that supports the Scratch Golf Tips brand greatly, which I always appreciate. If you want to see more content like this, you can subscribe to the Scratch Golf Tips YouTube channel and turn on our post notifications so that YouTube will notify you every time that we post. I hope you guys have been enjoying the more frequent posts recently. We've been posting at least twice a week, most weeks 3 times a week, which has been a big step up for us, and we're very grateful for all the support that we've received on the new uploading schedule. Also, if you're looking for more golf content, we have over 150 videos that are already on the channel. They're all on our playlist tab as well if you want to go through golf drills, player analysis, player breakdowns, golf tips, all different playlists. You can go through our channel and view those for your own viewing pleasure. As always, we thank you very much for watching. Play well and take care.